Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Jivisakan Vitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Brishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakopa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mukam karoti vachalam, pangam langayati garim, jatkripa tamahan vande, jatkripa dinatarana. So, perfection. Krishna says in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, Manushyanam sahasreshu kastyad yatati siddhaye, yatatamapi siddhanam kastyinmam veti tatvata. Out of many, many thousands of human beings, one may endeavor for some kind of perfection. And out of many hundreds and thousands of people who have achieved some kind of perfection, hardly one knows me in truth, Krishna says. Hardly one. In one lecture where Śrīla Prabhupāda quotes that verse, he aggregates it out to all living entities. The human beings make up a very small fraction of the living beings embodied in this material world. I think I've mentioned it before that there are over 300 trillion bacteria just in your mouth. And each one of those bacteria is the body, a material body of a conditioned soul. So it's inconceivable how many. Well, there's no end to this. You cannot say, well, now we've counted all the living entities in the material existence. Unlimited numbers, inconceivable numbers. And then Krishna is saying that out of human beings, hardly one will endeavor for perfection. And out of hundreds and thousands, millions, billions of human beings who've attained some kind of perfection, hardly one knows Krishna in truth. The word perfect is a very interesting word. Its root is in Latin, and per means complete. And from that we get the per and the pro in Latin from Sanskrit. It comes originally from Sanskrit. Dharma projita. Projita means completely kicked out. All religiously motivated dharmas are projita. They're completely kicked out of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. So completely per, and combining with the form of verb in Latin, facere. Facere means to make or to do. So perfection means to make or to do something completely. But that root of facere is also in other words we find in English. For instance, defect, infect, affect, confect, refect. So there is perfective sound, and there is defective sound, and there's infective sound, there's effective sound, affective sound. And our consciousness is shaped by what we hear, the way we think, the way we structure our lives. Everything is based upon hearing, what we hear. So any sound vibration which is materially based and materially motivated, which is leading us to some material goal, is infecting us, and it's defective in its effect. It doesn't perfect us, it defects us. So we become degraded or elevated on the basis of what we hear. Therefore, we're advised right at the beginning of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, in the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto, very important chapter, people. It's a synopsis of what the Bhagavatam is for on many different levels. Any Dharma that we want to engage in is something that we hear about. We hear from authorities about dharmic activities, occupational activities that hold us in our place. The root of Dharma is to hold. Excuse me. We have words like Venudara, Vangasidara. Dara, the root, the Dara comes from the same root as Dharma, which means literally to hold. Hold something in place, hold a quality, hold a position, and so on. In the 1st chapter of the Bhagavatam, when Shaunika Rishi is speaking to Sutta Goswami, at the end of the 1st chapter, he says, we think we've found your grace by the will of providence so that you can become the captain of the ship. The captain of the ship is a very interesting concept, because in the Sanskrit, the word is Karnadara. Karnadara. Karna means the ear. So the captain of the ship is the one who holds your ear, because on a ship, all direction about how the ship is functioning, how it will operate, what direction it will go in, what speed it will go at, and so on and so forth, all comes from the sound of the voice of the captain. From the earliest concepts of a ship to the most modern, most advanced aircraft carrier in the world, the whole thing runs on the basis of what the captain has to say. So it's a very responsible position to be in, a position where you're giving instruction to anyone about life, about how to live one's life, about what is the goal of life. And we see in the Vedic literatures, there's 2 paths in life. You can take the path of Nivritti Marg, or you can take the path of Pavritti Marg. Pavritti Marg is the life of sense gratification, and the path of Nivritti Marg is the path of renunciation for the higher causes. There are so many transcendental goals that one can pursue. But without complete knowledge, without hearing complete knowledge of the absolute truth, not the relative, not just the relative truths of existence, but the absolute truth of existence. One cannot get a complete picture of what is the actual purpose of life. So the perfect sound which emanates from the lotus lips of the perfect pure devotee of the Lord is that sound which, as we say every morning, Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Advid Javinasa Jate. From him ecstatic prema is emanating, and from him ignorance is destroyed. So the ultimate destruction of ignorance is to come to the full understanding of all of the components, we can say, the components, the integral parts of what is called the absolute truth. The absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead can only be approached and understood by hearing from a devotee of the Lord. There is a lot of speculation about who Krishna is. But until and unless one comes in contact with and hears submissively from a pure devotee of the Lord, one will not have a proper understanding of who Krishna is. These verses of glorification, excuse me, these verses of glorification by Sukadeva Goswami here in this second half of this chapter are very, very important for getting an understanding of the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Absolute Truth, Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. These prayers are full of so much meaning. We could talk for many days on practically every phrase, every word, and the depth of meaning contained there in all of these verses. Same thing in the Bhagavad-gītā. We have beautiful prayers by Arjuna in the 10th and 11th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā. And these prayers are very important to study and understand. Great deal of information about the Lord, and therefore material to fix our minds upon and meditate upon are contained within the statements of the pure devotees of the Lord. Just like I was reading the other day in the 10th chapter, after Krishna gives the Chatusloki verses of 8, 9, 10, and 11, then Arjuna launches into prayers, glorifying the Lord, from verse 12 to 15. And there's one verse here that I would like to refer to, which gives us sorry to when you pick up different Gitas, it's difficult sometimes to find the verse one's looking for on the page that it is. Excuse me for a second. Ah, yes, here it is. Sorry, it was verse 14. Verse 14 of chapter 10. Sarvam idam ritam manye yanmam vadatsi keshava nahi te bhagavan vyaktim vidur deva nadanavaha. I totally accept, oh Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither demigods nor the demons can understand your personality. Oh goodness, I'm sorry. That's not the verse. Oh my goodness, I'm making a complete fool of myself here. But I would like to find that verse. Ah, yes, here it is. Here it is. It is 15. Swayam evatmanatmanam veta tvam purushottama bhutta bhavana bhutteshu deva deva jagatpate. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. The Supreme Lord is realized in three aspects: as impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and at last as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the last stage of understanding the absolute truth, at that stage one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A common man, or even a liberated man, who has realized impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma may not understand God's personality. Such men, therefore, may endeavor to understand the Supreme Person from the verses of the Bhagavad-gītā, which are spoken by this person, Krishna. Sometimes the impersonalists accept Krishna as Bhagavan, or they accept his authority. Yet many liberated persons cannot understand Krishna as Purushottam, the Supreme Person. Therefore, Arjuna addresses him as Purushottam. Yet one still may not understand that Krishna is the father of all living entities. Therefore, Krishna addresses him as Bhutta Bhavana. And if one comes to know him as the father of all living entities, still one may not know him as the supreme controller. Therefore, he is addressed here as Bhutesha, the supreme controller of everyone. And even if one knows Krishna as the supreme controller of all living entities, still one may not know that he is the origin of all the demigods. Therefore, he is addressed as Deva Deva, the worshipful god of the demigods. And even if one knows him as the worshipful God of all the demigods, one may not know that he is the supreme proprietor of everything. Therefore, he is addressed as Jagatpati. Thus, the truth about Krishna is established in this verse by the realization of Arjuna, and we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna as he is, just as we are hearing in these verses. Verse 12 to 24 of this chapter is a prayer by Sukadeva Goswami, glorifying the qualities of the Lord. So this is perfective hearing. This is hearing perfective sound, which brings us to the highest perfection. Hearing about anything else is a useless waste of time, because it's actually evil, because it entangles us further and further into the process of sense gratification, and therefore the repetition of birth, death, disease, and old age through the 8,400,000 species of life in the material world. And in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, in verses 8 to 12, Krishna outlines 20 points that he considers to be knowledge and that all else is ignorance. And one of those points is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. That one must have the darshan, this vision to see and understand that there is an evil in this repetition of birth, death, disease, and old age. It is an evil situation, and it brings no good for the living entity. So we have to become conditioned to hearing perfective sound and decondition ourselves from hearing defective sound and act according to that sound that is coming from the lips of the pure devotee of the Lord. It is authoritative sound vibration. If we become submissive to this transcendental sound vibration, then we will lose what Prabhupada describes as the long-cherished desire to dominate the material energy. And as gradually and proportionately, as we lose that desire, we come to experience spiritual happiness. Perfective sound. Hare Krishna, that's almost time again. Time flies when you're having fun. Anyone have any questions today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sneha Bhakti here. Thank you so much for
Sneha Bhakti Devi Dasi.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, I was just thinking a very practical question when we are preaching. This verse talks about different types of people. Maybe people like humanitarians who do a lot of charity, work for the welfare of people in the mode of goodness. They often are not God conscious. For example, Mother Teresa. And even I've seen to ask people around us to make charities for this higher cause is a difficult one. But they would rather say, I would rather donate to the poor. I would rather donate in an orphanage. Not because they don't completely believe in what we are saying. They say things like, even if there is truth in it, at least when I donate to the orphanage, I can see the results immediately. Because when we tell them that donation to a temple is for a higher cause, you're helping them with their lives, with their lifetimes. But it is very hard to explain this concept.
No, it's not hard to explain. It's very simple and easy to explain. It's whether people can understand it or not. It's very simple. Everything we have to present is actually very simple. But people are very much covered by the modes of passion and ignorance. So submission is a very important point. When we talk about preaching to people, well, Krishna doesn't even start instructing Arjuna in anything until Arjuna asks for it. So while people are in a position of thinking they know better, then that's the difficulty. That's the difficulty. So one has to be very patient because people are very deeply materially attached. And until and unless there's a level of exhaustion, and people are not going to be particularly submissive to hearing from authoritative sources. Because, well, in that purport to 1322, which I quote so much, it's such an important purport, Prabhupada says that until this conception, this material conception changes, then people are obliged by their involvement in the modes of material nature, pursuing material desires, which they've been doing for countless lifetimes, to think and act in a particular way. And Manushyanam sahasreshu kasya jitati siddhaye yatatamapi siddhanam kasyin mam veti tatvataha. Not many people are going to come to the Krishna consciousness movement anyway. And people come in all kinds of states of disrepair as a result of being kicked around by the modes of material nature for a very long time. And their motivations quite often are, as Krishna says, four kinds of pious person. The person who's in distress. Well, everyone's in distress. The person who's seeking solutions to their mundane financial situations, and that's very complicated. They're pretty much the majority of people. Those who are somewhat curious about transcendence and the jnani, Krishna says the jnani is the best. But people who are seriously seeking knowledge are the absolute minority of people who come to us. So that's why also we have prasadam distribution. They can donate to our prasadam distribution programs. But we better have them. We better have them in the first place. And then we have to be patient. A lot of people you find, they come out of distress and financial difficulty, and they get relief from those things, and we don't see them anymore until their next bout of difficulty comes. The beauty about them coming to a Krishna conscious situation is that they get prasadam. And now there's an argument, oh, well, that's just, we can't just depend upon agyati sukriti. Well, we don't just depend upon that, but in certain cases, that's the only thing you can do is give people prasadam and hope that sometime in the future, they'll have a change in consciousness. Yeah. But it's a question of practice and refinement of our awareness of who we're dealing with. And don't beat your head against a brick wall.
The difficulty is when we are preaching outside, it's okay to, it's easy to have that patience, but when you deal with your own family in a lot of ways, it feels like, even though we know it's a wall on the other end, you don't want to, at least I don't want to accept that there's a wall on the other end. I still want to preach. I still want to tell them stuff, it just, because the compassion is a lot more than the compassion I have for the outside world. It's mixed in a lot of ways. So it's very hard to accept it's a wall on the other end.
Well, welcome to the hardball court. This is the path we're on. This is the path we're on. Don't be surprised who stays, or don't be surprised who goes. Be surprised who stays. Don't be surprised who doesn't take it up, doesn't listen. You'd be surprised who does. There has to be a certain detachment about all of that.
Yes.
But also Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. So Krishna, when he appears and presents Bhagavad-gītā, Lord Chaitanya, when he appears and develops the Sankirtan movement, in the whole of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's only 5 in-depth periods, sessions of instruction. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya are to Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Prakasananda Saraswati, and through him 60,000 Mayavadi sannyasis, and Ramananda Roy. The rest of it is chanting, dancing, and distributing prasadam, and intimate lila. But until and unless somebody's prepared to really be submissive, then you're up against a difficult situation. One has to pray to the Lord in the heart to somehow or another make this person that you're trying to convince of something a little more submissive to that hearing process. But in the meantime, prasadam, prasadam, prasadam. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam. It's having an effect.
Yes.
It's having an effect. Rameshwar Maharaj, or was Maharaj, now Prabhu, A friend of mine just came back from Mayapur. He said Rameshwar was giving a class about things Prabhupada said to him about how things work in the Sankirtan movement, which is meant to last for 10,000 years. Long time.
Yes.
We don't have 10,000 years of chronological history of any culture anywhere in the world. But he was saying, Prabhupada said to him, it's like this. In this lifetime, they may see a Bhagavad-gītā as it is. In their next lifetime, somebody might put one in their hand. They may touch it. In the next lifetime, they may open it. And so on and so forth. It may be like that for some people. And there's so many stories, even in terms of the lifetime we're living, of how one of Prabhupada's books sits on somebody's shelf for years and then somebody picks it up and reads it. There was one story in Back to Godhead not recently, some time ago now, I read this, where a new devotee, he was a young boy, 19 years old, wrote an article for BTG about how he became a seeker and he was visiting all kinds of organizations trying to find some knowledge of transcendence. And he was being frustrated everywhere he went. And then finally he was telling his mother about this and how frustrated he was that he just didn't seem to be getting the information that he needed. And she said, oh, well, I have a book that might be good for you. And she went out into the hall closet and rummaged around up on the top shelf and looked and pulled out a Krishna book and said, I got this on the street when I was pregnant with you, and I've kept it ever since. I don't know why, but here it is. There might be something in this. The boy read that book, which had been just schlepped around by his mother for 18 years. She'd never looked at it, or she'd touched it, but she'd never read it. He sits down and reads it, becomes a devotee. So we don't know. Super Soul's conducting the whole thing. The main thing is we do not drive people to distraction. We don't, like Vaisheshika Prabhu always says, his basic principle of all aspects of preaching, especially book distribution, is leave people with a good impression.
Yes.
And that requires focus and patience. Hare Krishna. We're going way over time again. I'm sorry, folks.
No, thank you so much for that detailed explanation. Thank you.
There's a saying, he who is convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And then there's the old adage, you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. You have to honor the independence of everyone, no matter whether they're little children or fully grown adults. Everyone is an agent, that we all have agency, and the time might not be right.
Yeah.
But as long as you remain a friend and not somebody they see as not necessarily an enemy, but an obstacle in their path or an obstruction in their path or somebody who's hindering them, then they develop a negative attitude towards you. And then they won't listen to anything you say. And as soon as they can, they'll get away from you.
Yeah.
There's another story. I won't go into it now. Maybe you can remind me when I see you, or you may know it already, about Śrīla Prabhupāda's sister. She was married to a meat-eating drunkard who used to beat her. She used to go to the market and buy meat for him and cook for him. And one time after he came home drunk and beat her, then he got all sentimental and asked her, why do you stay with me? Why this, why that? And then she was able to start talking to him about Sanatana Dharma. And it turned him around. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you. Always an intelligent question. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, we got to go, I think. We got to go. Of course, most people are still here. I have to give class again tomorrow, and I'm giving class again on Sunday morning. So, like I said yesterday, maybe we can have a questions section if you want, or I'll just keep on giving talks on the verses.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindobheva patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare,
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Everyone,
you,
unmute.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Beautiful
Krishna,
class.
Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
I'll end the class now, Prabhu.